These election results out of Wisconsin last night. This was a race for the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and both the Democrats and Republicans threw a lot of money into this race. Elon Musk put I think a couple $1 million of his own money into the race and was up in Wisconsin actually campaigning for the conservative. At one rally, he actually claimed that the survival of Western civilization depended on the conservative candidate winning the race. But I guess civilization is about to collapse since the liberal judge won big. It wasn't close. And remember, Wisconsin is a swing state. Donald Trump won Wisconsin last year. And you know what? The liberal judge won by about 10 points, made the centerpiece of her campaign Elon Musk. And it looks like the issue of Musk really resonated with the voters there. And of course, Democrats were much more mobilized, and recently Republican voters tend to vote a lot less frequently in special elections, or really any election where Donald Trump isn't on the ballot. They are low propensity voters, Republicans are right now, whereas the Democrats are mobilized and get their voters out. But Musk was really the big issue in this one, because voter ID was on the ballot too. That passed easily, right? It's despite Democrats being against it. This was a referendum on Musk and to a lesser extent Trump. But I'll say this. It looks to me like the voters of Wisconsin are shaken up by what Musk is doing in Washington. And that's understandable. He's dismantling parts of the federal government that have been around for decades. That's scary to a lot of people. Also, after Musk put his money into the race, the message from the Democrats was that Musk was trying to buy the election. And I think that also resonated too. People don't like the idea of big money donors. They instinctively don't like the idea of big money in politics. And from Wisconsin, it was Russell Feingold, who was a senator who co-authored the original campaign finance bill with John McCain in the early 2000s. But the left also put money into the race. George Soros, you know his name probably. He put millions in too, but Musk is much higher profile right now than Soros. So the money he threw in got all the attention, and he was actively campaigning for the conservative judge. So obviously he's going to take more of the heat for this. But this whole thing should be a warning to Republicans and to the idea of Musk continuing to be front and center. Because I'm telling you, he has been successfully vilified by Democrats. Forget about Trump. Attacking Trump seems to work in Trump's favor. But Musk scares people. I think it's partially his demeanor. It's a little weird. His seemingly haphazard way he's going after government spending. He's firing a lot of people. Nobody likes HR, right? Most people don't like that, even if they are government employees. There was the chainsaw stunt at CPAC where he brought the chainsaw on stage. There was the salute at the inaugural event that upset some people. And he's not a politician. But he is a great way for Trump to take some of the heat off of himself. He can let him do all that unpopular stuff while sitting back and avoiding taking the blame, even though Trump is ultimately the one in charge. It's a really smart move by Trump. But whether you like it or not, Musk is not a popular guy. He's got a 50% disapproval rating according to a new poll in Newsweek from yesterday. Trump, by contrast, has about a 50% approval rating at the moment. I think that's the highest it's ever been. But despite the low poll numbers, Trump seems committed to Musk and what he's doing. And, it may be to his ultimate detriment in future elections. Or Musk could just say, my job is done here, check out before 2026. I don't think Americans would hold the Republicans responsible if that were the end of it. Today is also Liberation Day. That's what Trump is calling April 2nd, because today is the day he puts big tariffs on a number of countries. And he seems to be going forward with it this time, I think. In fact, he's going to hold a big celebration at the White House to sign the tariffs, a big tariff party. But at the same time, the economy is shaken up by this. The markets are shaken up because of these tariffs being put into place, big tariffs. And almost every economist you talk to says that these tariffs are going to hurt American consumers. Trump will get blamed for it. You can't blame Biden for what's coming. It seems to be I'm telling you, it's a strange political calculation to make. Why do this now? Knowing that the tariffs are likely to cause an economic downturn, economic pain, possibly severe economic downturn, knowing that trade deficits are not a major concern to the American people at the moment. The cost of living still is. He says these will raise revenues. One figure put out by the administration this week suggested that the tariffs could raise $6 trillion over the next 10 years. I think that's doubtful. But even if it were true, the burden of the tariffs would land directly on the American consumer. Why would you want to do that? Because remember, tariffs are a tax. They are a tax on the consumer, and they're a regressive one. They impact the middle class and the poor more than the wealthy. Then, of course, there's the big promise Trump is making about tariffs, and that is that they will bring back manufacturing jobs back to America. And this is what Trump is promising. There are a few problems with this. First, there's no evidence that this will happen. Economists are doubtful that this will be a result of the tariffs. They're not necessarily coming back, and probably never. We have an economy based on we don't have an economy based on manufacturing anymore, and it's unlikely that a share of makers within overseas will move the supply chains around the world again under the threat of all these on again, off again tariffs. So a tumultuous economic climate is what we have. Even if a sizable share of those manufacturing centers relocated to the U.S., the number of jobs created would be small, and more than offset by those wiped out in a recession. That's what economists say. So why do this? Why raise the cost of living when the primary reason Trump was elected was to lower the cost of living? And how long will these tariffs last? Because I promise you, when Trump's approval rating starts dropping after the tariffs are in place, I think he'll get spooked. And I think he'll start rescinding them. We'll have a rescinding day. I'm pretty confident that this is what's going to happen, because after the experience we had with inflation recently, the people are going to they're going to be outraged if these start up again, and even more outraged that it was done intentionally by the guy who said he was going to fix the economy. So I don't know. It's unclear who the winners are in this gambit by Trump. I think it may turn out to be one of the most glaring strategic errors in the history of American politics. And even if the economy doesn't do a nosedive, the rewards are just not high enough for people to see any real impact in their lives. What do you think about Trump's tariffs? Leave your comments below, please. No White House talking points. I'm so sick of those. I'm Dan Joseph. This is Bite-Sized Politics, where we put the political stories of the day in perspective in a way that you can digest them without having to spend your entire day following the news like I do. Remember, tell your friends, subscribe, and I'll see you on Friday.